AccelRare is a pre-diagnostic clinical decision support tool designed to assist clinicians in the early identification and prioritization of rare and complex diseases. It is powered by the Medveer tool, a certified Class 1 medical device. The platform integrates structured clinical data, including patient history, symptoms, and examination findings, to generate a ranked list of potential diagnoses, supporting earlier recognition and more targeted diagnostic pathways. Let's open the tool. On the landing page, important information is presented in the blue box. AccelRare can detect approximately 310 rare diseases, has a claimed reliability of 89%, and typically takes between 5 and 10 minutes to complete. The process is anonymous and free to use. The workflow is structured into 4 steps: patient profile, symptoms, medical history, and examination findings, additional clinical signs, and finally, a ranked list of suspected rare diseases. Before proceeding, there are a few important considerations. Go to the About drop-down and select the Frequently Asked Questions. A key publication is referenced here that provides guidance on the selection process used in AccelRare. The authors propose an objective framework to define a subset of priority rare diseases, those for which reducing diagnostic delay is particularly important. These diseases were selected based on 2 criteria: the availability of a specific treatment or medicinal product, and/or the existence of well-established clinical management guidelines. Conditions with a high mortality before 3 years of age, and those with very specific clinical features and low diagnostic delay, have been excluded. Some well-known conditions, such as phenylketonuria, are also not included. The primary role of AccelRare is therefore in slightly older pediatric patients, or adults, who have undergone extensive investigation for a suspected rare disease, where the aim is to ensure that rare diseases with well-established management guidelines have not been overlooked. Let's now return to the landing page. Proceeding to the tool, first select the country, confirm healthcare professional status, and agree to the terms of use. The pre-diagnosis process can then be started. To illustrate the use of AccelRare, consider the following case. A previously well 7-year-old child presents with progressive visual loss over the past year. Teachers report declining school performance and reduced concentration. Over the past few months, the child has developed new onset generalized seizures. On examination, there is reduced visual acuity, mild cognitive impairment, and a subtle ataxic gait. The first step is to enter the patient's age and gender. The next step is to input symptoms, medical history, and examine examination findings. Keywords can be typed into the search box, and the tool presents selectable options, which are automatically classified. It is important to pay attention to how terms are categorized. For example, entering school will produce different options depending on context, such as speech-related problems versus declining school performance due to cognitive impairment. Selecting the correct category ensures accurate clinical representation. Once all relevant features have been entered, the next step is to identify the main symptom. In this case, decreased vision is selected as the presenting feature under visual disorders. Now click Next to advance to the next page. The tool will now prompt for additional clinical features. It is generally preferable to include as much information as possible during the initial entry step and to minimize additional inputs at this stage unless necessary. The tool then requests more detailed characterization of the selected symptoms. In this case, the vision loss is progressive, non-fluctuating, bilateral, and severe. Cognitive impairment is characterized as progressive and of moderate severity. Further prompts may include coordination disorders, tremors, or seizures. These can be refined if needed. Based on the entered data, the tool continues to suggest additional symptoms and signs, which can be accepted or skipped. The final input screen allows for inclusion of additional data, including blood tests, subspecialty-specific findings, and imaging results. Once completed, the tool generates a ranked differential diagnosis. The top diagnosis in this case is juvenile neuronal ceroid lipofuscinosis, also known as Batten disease. Additional relevant conditions are also included among the top-ranked results. Results can be filtered by subspecialty, allowing for a more targeted clinical perspective. Detailed information can be accessed for each condition, including clinical presentation, differential diagnoses, prognosis, recommended investigations, and expected findings. If the diagnosis remains uncertain, the tool also provides guidance on differential investigations to help distinguish between the leading conditions. Finally, the case can be exported as a PDF. This can serve as a referral letter or accompany laboratory requests and results, providing valuable clinical context and supporting further investigation. This concludes the use of the AccelRare tool.